There's a camping trip I used to do every summer. Same group of people, like 30, 20, 40, sometimes a lot, sometimes a little, whole week out in the middle of nowhere, not telling you where. It's one of those trips that becomes the thing you measure the rest of your year against. And every single night at some point, somebody would put music on. We always listen to music. But at some point in the night is when I would lose my mind. Not in a bad way, like maybe a slightly bad way, but every song that came on, I had something to say about. Where it was recorded, who played in it, what was happening with the producer at the time, why the chorus works, why the bridge is underrated, why the bassist didn't get enough credit. And my friends, Jesus bless them, started to genuinely wonder if I was making this shit up as a running joke. Is this real? Does he actually know this? Or is he just confidently saying words and hoping, nobody gives a fuck, because none of them did. I was not making it up. This is just what happened when 30 years of music went into my head and never came out. Somewhere in the middle, one of those things, sitting around a fire on the sandy beaches of I will never tell you where, probably a drink or 12 in, I thought, this is interesting. That's one of the reasons this podcast exists. And that sounds super eccentric because it is. That's why today on this very first Side B episode, I'm going to sit here by myself and talk to you for half an hour about a Rush album from 1991 because nobody else was going to do this with me. I wanted to get it out. That's it. Welcome to the B-side. I am DL. Should we talk about Roll the Bones? It's a margarita. It's a martini. It's a very dirty vodka martini. Green olives. Red pepper. That's what I'm drinking. All right. Look, I'm not a Rush super fan. Many of those people exist. I have enormous respect for the Rush super fan. They're a different species of music listener, and I say that with admiration. Rush fans are some of the most passionate, knowledgeable, devoted, smart music people in the history of rock music, and they should be because Rush earned every single one of them. I own a few Rush albums. I love it when Rush comes on. I understand what they are. I understand what they're doing. I slap at the bass, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend I can go note for note with an entire catalog of fandom. Someone who's been living inside since 1974. What I can tell you is that Roll the Bones got me in a way that surprised me. My uncle Steve had a ton of Rush albums. I have two uncles that were really great with music and me, really, really paved the way for me. A lot of people did, but one of my specific uncles had a bunch of Rush albums, huge Rush fan, was really into the progressive rock stuff. I grew up kind of like a background presence, this thing the adults had that felt like too complicated for me at the time. And then one day this record was on, and it clicked. Maybe because it's less complicated, I don't know. Not the whole Rush thing, just this specific album, this specific weird record from a specific weird moment in time. I had already loved Rush, Tom Sawyer, Fly By Night. I had heard the songs. I was into them since a very young age, but almost like a hard to reach thing. Weird moments in time sort of stuff. I've been trying to figure out why Roll the Bones hit me the way it did ever since, and tonight I might have the answer. 1991, the world that this album walked into. To understand Roll the Bones, you have to understand what 1991 felt like. I was 9 years old, so who knows. 1991 was a year that was gonna detonate. We talked about 89. Nevermind came out in September of 91, 10 by Pearl Jam, Bad Motorfinger, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, a little Chili Peppers action when they were good. I guess not that they're bad now. The entire landscape of rock music was in this process of being torn down and rebuilt, right? Rush had been making records since 74. They survived punk. They survived the synth-heavy 80s. They survived every single wave that was supposed to wash them away. And I don't know if it was because they leaned into some stuff or not, but Rush walked into 91 and made Roll the Bones. And here's the thing. They had no idea what was coming. Nobody did. Not really. Evil and I just talked about this. Grunge didn't announce itself. It arrived. So you have this band, three of the most technically precise musicians in the history of rock music, trying to figure out how to sound relevant in a moment that was about... It was going to make technical precision deeply uncool. And what they made is this strange, confident, occasionally bizarre record that somehow holds together, for me at least. Tension is the whole story of Roll the Bones, of this album. Let's talk about the production, Rupert Hine. Rush brought in Rupert Hine to produce. And if you don't know that name, Rupert Hine was one of the go-to producers for artists trying to thread the needle. Artistic credibility versus mainstream accessibility. Tina Turner, Howard Jones, The Fix. He understood how to make something feel modern without stripping it out, taking away what made it interesting in the first place. That's exactly what Rush needed, because by the late 80s, they'd gone pretty deep into the synth rock, Power Windows, Hold Your Fire. Great records, but records where the guitar was kind of an afterthought, which is not a Rush thing. It's not a little bit of, for the fandom, maybe not great. And the production felt very of its moment, also very not great for certain fans. With Roll the Bones, Hine and the band started pulling back toward live performance, slightly raw, guitars being guitars again, which you think, really, is that the case? But they did. One of the things Hines did that doesn't get talked about is how he handled the low end. A lot of late 80s Rush records, bass and drums were almost separated, layered. They weren't locked together. It gave this very produced, very controlled feel. If you listen to the other stuff compared to Roll the Bones, Hines pushed Geddy and Neil to record more like a live rhythm section. They were playing off each other. They were in real time. They were responding to each other. They recorded live. You can hear the difference in Roll the Bones. This record breathes. It's got a physical quality. Power Windows, as great as it is, it just doesn't have it. It sounds like a band remembering that Rush is the band that it is. Roll the Bones, I don't know, it feels natural. We can talk about Neil Peart. Before we talk about the bass, look, Neil Peart, Roll the Bones, he's doing something specific that I don't think gets enough attention, even though it is Neil. We all know Neil, one of the greatest drummers in rock history, possibly the greatest. Many people consider him as such, depending on who you ask and how the conversation goes, is the greatest drummer of all time. And when most people think about Peart, they think about the epic stuff, the massive drum solos, the technically impossible fills, the kit that looks like it was designed by somebody who designed spaceships. Roll the Bones, Peart is doing something harder than all of that. He's playing for the song consistently. And we all know what we love about drummers. That sounds simple. It's not simple. All of the memes of here's what's really hard to play on the drums. There are moments on this record where Peart is clearly capable of doing something far more complex than what he's doing. You can feel it. The restraint is visible, but he chooses not to do it because the songs don't need it. Dreamline is a great example, and it's on right now. That song has a momentum to it that could easily be disrupted by a drummer trying to show off. He locks in. He drives it. He doesn't deviate. There are the classic Peart fills. It's Neil, but they serve the track. They push it forward. They don't stop it to say, hey, fucking look at me. I'm the greatest. Which he's never felt like that. But then you get to the title track and the dynamic, it shifts. The verses are hypnotic. He's doing this thing with the hi-hat that creates this tension underneath. It's coiling. He's getting ready. And then the chorus is hit and he opens up and suddenly you understand what all the restraint was for. Even going to the very end of the song where he does start feeling the fuck out of shit. In the way only Neil can. That's craft. That's not technique. That's understanding how a song works at a level that drummers just never reach. You have your Grolls, you have your Pearts, you have your Ringos. Now, Geddy Lee, because he doesn't get enough credit, for what he's doing on this record or ever. Geddy Lee is one of the greatest bass players. He is one of the history, all of rock music ever. He is. And on Roll the Bones, his bass is doing things that most people listening casually will completely miss. It's not buried. but the production buries it just enough that you kind of have to look for it. You have to put headphones on. You have to know what you're listening for, and you have to listen for it. Bassline on Roll the Bones, bassline on Dreamline. You pull it from underneath everything, I guess, what he's doing rhythmically while Neil is doing what Neil does. Like the three things happening simultaneously that each individually would be the most interesting thing in a lesser band song, but that's what Rush is, right? That's why Rush has psycho fans. Are you a bass player that's in love with bass and only loves bass? Here you go. Are you a drummer who respects the greatest drummer of all the time? Here you go. Is Geddy a good vocalist? There you go. We'll get into guitar later. Don't worry about it. And there's a reason why I'm waiting on it. Here's the technical thing that kills me about Geddy, specifically on Roll the Bones. Bass players generally have a choice. Like, you can follow the kick drum. You can lock in with the drummer. You can create the low end foundation, or you can follow the guitar harmonically, track what the chords are doing, support the melody. Most players do one or the other. Geddy does fucking both. And that sounds so simple, but it's not. And he does it within the same bars. On the title track specifically, there are moments where he's locked completely in with Neil's kick, and then without warning, he slides into melodic line. It's tracking Lifeson's chord progression going back. It's seamless. It sounds effortless. That's not effortless. He's also singing at the same time, which is fucking, if you've ever played bass and sang at the same time, that's insane. I don't know how that's physically possible. I've thought about it. I've tried it. I've tried playing bass and singing at the same time. I remember at one concert we were putting on, one show we did, we did Loser by Beck, and Sven played bass and sang at the same time. I don't know how the fuck people do that. I can't explain it. Dudes like that are just built differently. They're just built differently. There's something about bass that makes it too hard. And then there's the bass and the drum interlay, the locking together, which brings me to the thing that I think is the secret weapon of this entire record, the way that Geddy and Neil play together. In most rock bands, the bass player's job is to be the bridge between the drums and the guitar. You sit in the low end with the drummer. You connect up to where the guitar lives. You're the glue. Rush has never worked that way. I mean, I'm sure maybe one of you could find something that maybe, yeah. To me, they haven't. In Rush, Geddy and Neil are in constant conversation. They're not glue. They're two completely independent voices that happen to occupy the same sonic space. And that deliberately, thoughtfully, when to lock together, when to pull apart, the choices they make, they're just perfect. There's a moment in the song Bravado, is one of my favorite things on this entire record. The verse has this open, spacious quality. He's playing very lightly, almost delicate. Geddy's bass is doing these long sustained notes underneath the melody. And then they hit this pre-chorus moment without any obvious signal. They lock together simultaneously, same rhythmic pattern, and it just fucking lands. It's very Rush. You feel it physically. You know the work that they put in. That is two musicians who have played together for so long, that work so hard. They anticipate each other on a fucking They anticipate each other on a cellular level. Is it all of number 2 time? I think it is. Oh my God. Rupert Hine understood that. He recorded them in a way that lets you hear it. That's the production choice that matters most on this record. Kind of like we talked about in Utero. An Albanian is laying back and putting up 7 million microphones and letting it do the thing. There aren't guitar tones. There aren't the synths. The space he gave the rhythm section to actually talk to each other. Those are the things that matter. That's what's important. Alex Lifeson is the most underrated guitar player in rock and roll. And while we're talking about people who don't get enough credit, I was waiting for him on purpose, you see. Alex Lifeson, in possibly the history of rock music, and I think the reason that he's so underrated is that he plays in a band with fucking Neil Peart and Geddy Lee. When you have arguably the greatest rock drummer of all time and one of the greatest bass players of all time sharing a stage with you, people are going to look somewhere else first. Maybe it's physics. It's weird because guitar is usually shined on first, but Roll the Bones, Lifeson is doing something interesting that he hadn't really done in years. He's fucking playing guitar again. Now, talk about Rush, synth-heavy records, late 80s. It really pushed him into a corner where a lot of what he was doing was textural, atmospheric. He was support. And he did it brilliantly, but it's not where a guitarist wants to live ever. You might as well jump. On Roll the Bones, Rupert Hine gave him room, probably purposely. Lifeson took it, and the tones he's using on this record are different from anything he'd done in years. He went back to a more direct signal chain, less processing, less layering. The guitar sounds like a fucking guitar plugged into an amp being played by a fucking human. Is that obvious? Yes. But after several records, if you know the 80s where everything was carefully sculpted and produced within an inch of its fucking life, hearing Lifeson just play, it's striking. It's refreshing. The guitar on Dreamline, it's got fucking bite. There's an edge. That late 80s shit just isn't there. The solo on the title track, which gets completely overshadowed by the rap section, and I understand why, is genuinely great. It's not showy. It's not trying to prove anything. It's melodic. It's awesome. It's technically brilliant. It serves the song. It's confident as fuck. That's the hardest thing to do as a guitarist. I think most of you guitarists will agree. Anyone can show off, playing exactly what the song needs, nothing more, with a little bit of technicality. That's the craft. Lifeson has always had that craft. Roll the Bones was a good reminder of what it sounds like when he gets into his fucking element. Okay? The title Roll the Bones is not accidental. Neil, who writes the lyrics for Rush, fucking great band. I love it. Drummers writing lyrics. He was one of the most thoughtful lyricists. A fucking nerd. But rock music. Awesome, nerdy rock music. He was working through something on this record. The album is about chance. It's about randomness. It's about the fundamental question of why we're here. And the equally fundamental answer, which is we don't fucking know. Why are we here? Because we're here. Take your shot. Roll the bones. You can see that as bleak in the wrong hands. That's a really depressing worldview and the wrong words, but it's liberating. There's no predetermined answers. You're fucking free. What you do is randomness. It's entirely yours. The title track, why are we fucking here? Because we're here. Roll the bones. It's a shrug. It's the most confident shrug. Fuck it. Fuck it. Do what you want to do. Get into your craft at a late age or a young age. I think that's part of why this album hit me in a way I didn't expect from a young age. The philosophy, it's different. It's not Christian. It's not anti-Christian. It's when you're a certain age, you've started asking all these questions of yourself. Sometimes you want to hear that answer. To me, you do. Okay, we need to talk about the rap, right? We do. In 1991, Neil, drummer, lyricist, one of the most technically precise human beings, I guess, ever to sit behind a kit, wrote a rap, and he put it in the middle of Roll the Bones. I know, right? Look, it is absolutely, completely, magnificently of its time. It's so 1991, it fucking hurts. It sounds like someone explained to Neil what rap was, like over the phone, and he took like super careful notes and then just went and fucking did it. But here's the thing. It doesn't ruin the song. It really doesn't. I spent a lot of time thinking about why getting ready for this episode. I put a lot of work into this. Let me tell you how the title track is actually built, because I think understanding the structure is what makes the rap section make sense, even though it's still hilarious. The song opens with this rip that is immediately unmistakably Rush. There's no easing into the fucking riff. There's no intro. It just starts. The verse is tight. It's almost minimal for Rush. The drums are doing that kind of coiling thing. Bass is locked in. Geddy's vocals sit right on top of it like they do, like they love to do. And then the chorus opens up completely. The guitar comes forward. Peart opens up the kit. Melody lifts. Verse to chorus dynamic. Verse, chorus, verse. Trademark. It's actually one of the more well-constructed things on the record. Pop songwriting instinct, which Rush had, dressed in their clothing, I guess. I don't know. It's exactly what Rupert Hine was there to do. And then a rap. It arrives almost exactly where a guitar solo would go, that, middle eight. where the song needs to go somewhere, final chorus, bridge, that sort of thing. Instead of a solo, which any other band would have done, which Lifeson maybe should have done, kind of did at another point in the song, Peart writes a rap. It's processed, it's distorted, it's robotic. It's interesting because it means Rush knew that putting a straight rap in there would be fucking weird and jarring and stupid. The processing gives it kind of an alien quality that actually somehow fucking works in the themes about randomness and chance. It's so 1991, it still sounds like someone's first attempt at a rap, but it's not thoughtlessness. There was intention behind it. And that weird robotic nature makes it work. The song doesn't flinch. It goes straight into it, straight back out of it, into it, out of it. It lands into a final chorus like nothing happened. That confident, that's the whole album in one moment. The opener, Dreamline, should we talk about that? That's a different story entirely. Dreamline is Rush at their most immediately accessible. They don't dumb a single thing down. It's hard to do. That opening riff, it just arrives. It doesn't build up to itself. It doesn't ask permission. It's just there, fully formed from the first second. And then Geddy comes in, and the thing that gets me every single time is the fucking tempo. The way the song moves. It has this forward momentum that feels not stoppable, unstoppable. Like the song itself is going somewhere and you're going to go with it or you're going to get left behind. Join us or fuck the album. You have two choices. There you go. Structurally, Dreamline is more conventional than most Rush songs. Verse, chorus, bridge, solo, chorus, out. You can map it. It doesn't fight you. But within the conventional structure, all three of them are doing things that are completely unconventional. Hi-hat patterns in verse, it's not what you'd expect. It's slightly ahead of where you think it should be in a way that creates this subtle urgency, like the song is always, before on the one, always about to go somewhere. Lyrically, it's about youth. It's about feeling young and convinced that everything is ahead of you going into Roll the Bones. We are young. We're wandering the face of the earth. We're wandering and wondering and all that great, whatever the fuck the line is, something about dreams might be worth. Come on, notes. Neil wrote that as a man in his late 30s. There's something about that distance, like looking back at that feeling rather than living inside of it, that gives it weight. Not many 22-year-olds could have written that. He knows what those dreams are worth. That's what you're hearing. I mean, Fiona, maybe. That's about it. It sets the tone for the record that says, we're going to be approachable, but we're not going to be simple. That's a hard line to walk. They walk it. They walk it really well. I just spilled my martini. The songs people skip on this record are the ones worth going back to. Bravado is one of the most underrated Rush songs in the entire catalog. Fuck you. It's mid-tempo. It doesn't announce itself. It's not trying to grab you immediately. But what Neil does lyrically and what the band is doing underneath it rewards patience in a way that the bigger tracks don't need to. Ghost of a Chance is a love song, which sounds wrong. Like when you say it in the context of Rush, just a love song. But it's genuinely a beautiful fucking piece of songwriting. Straightforward in a way that Rush rarely allowed themselves to be. It works because of, restraint. How about the guitar work in Ghost of a Chance? It's purely melodic. Life's never recorded, no flash, no complexity for its own sake. Clean, honest, beautiful guitar line underneath a song about loving someone. It's the least Rush sounding thing on the record, and somehow that makes it one of the best things on the record for me. Expand your horizons, Rush fans. You bet your life is Rush doing something that they hadn't really done before, like loose blues adjacent swagger. That sounds like a different fucking band until you hear Neil come in. And then you realize, no, it's Rush. It's Rush. They just fucking took their shoes off or whatever. The groove on the track is surprising. Geddy's bass is doing something closer to funk than prog. It shouldn't work. It absolutely works because it's Rush, because they're fucking brilliant, guys. So here's the question I've been working toward. Why this one? Why this to start the B-side? I love Rush, but not every Rush album hits me the same way. Moving Pictures is a masterpiece. We've already talked about it. 2112 is fucking obviously a masterpiece. I love it. Fucking call me the working man. Permanent Waves, Hemisphere, there's a catalog of work that the hardcore fans will rightly defend forever. But Roll the Bones is the one that nobody picks as their favorite that got under my skin. And I think it's because of exactly the tension I described at the beginning. And I think that's why we do shit like this. This is a band that didn't know what was coming, that was trying to navigate a moment that was about to make everything they stood for irrelevant. Instead of panicking, instead of chasing what was about to explode, they made a record about rolling the bones, about doing the thing anyway, showing up. Even when you don't know what the point is, confidence in the face of randomness. I find that genuinely, deeply moving. And yes, there's a rap section in the middle of it. And yes, it's very 1991. And yes, if you play it for someone today without any context, there's a real chance that they're going to look at you and be like, dude, what the fuck? But here's what I keep coming back to. The bands that were chasing relevance in 1991 mostly don't get talked about anymore. The bands that just made their record, that showed up, did the thing, didn't worry about whether it was the right moment. These are the ones that are still in rotation. Now, I'm not saying that Rush got through the 90s because of this album. I know it was because of their old discography, but Rush didn't know grunge was coming. Even if they had, I don't think they would have changed a note. This is who they were at the time. 3 guys completely committed to their own version of what music was at that point. Fucking Roll the Bones. My uncle had this record sitting in a stack with all the others, just there, not announced, not explained. And when I found it, I wasn't ready for that one to be the one that got me. But that's the thing about the records that matter. They don't ask you to be ready. They wait patiently, fitty, until the moment is right. And then you put them on. And something shifts, and you spend the next however many years trying to explain to people why this specific album by this specific band from this specific weird fucking moment in 1991 just does it for you. I'm drunk. I've been trying to explain it for years. These are the sort of episodes that I'm going to try to do that with. And that is the point of Side B. Here you are. No co-host, no agenda, just me and an album. I've been meaning to talk about these for longer than I'd like to admit. I'm going to keep talking, with or without anybody. If you're a Rush fan and I got something wrong, be gentle. I meant well. If you've never listened to Roll the Bones, go put it on right now. Just roll the bones. That song, see what happens. How many tattoos are you going to get about those lyrics, motherfucker? These Side B episodes are going to be exactly this. Whenever I have something that I need to talk about that doesn't fit anywhere else, it goes here. There's no schedule, there's no warning, it just shows up. Half hour, if you like it, tell somebody. Not because I need the numbers, because somewhere out there is another person who needs to hear about this record, and I love that. I'm DL. This is Verse, Chorus, Verse. Why are we here? Because we're here. Roll the bones, everybody. Roll the fucking bones. Listen to our newsletter. We love you. Good night and good luck. That's the first B-side.